watching Seahawks Today, powered by Chat Sports. I am merely Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us. And it is time to talk trade rumors. We asked you guys to submit some trade ideas and what other questions you have on your Seattle Seahawks. We'll examine those in just a moment. Before we do, never miss a single moment of Seattle Seahawks Today. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Join the NOTI gang. That way you're the first to know when we have new content on the channel. That way when we go live, when we have new videos, maybe you want to be a part of our next live mailbag segment, whatever it is, turn on notifications, never miss a moment. Subscribe now for free. You'll be glad you did. Our first one this week comes from Doom. Doom wants to know, with a $5 super chat, bang, says, could a trade for Foyesade Oluokun, you guys know, the Jags linebacker, work in the future? If so, what would it take? The future is the key point here. Doom, I don't think that they're trading him anytime soon because they just paid him not too long ago a decent amount of money. When it comes to the inside linebacker position, off-ball linebacker, we are not seeing the trade value for those guys being nearly as much, as teams don't value that position like they used to. So I can't imagine him getting a first-round pick. I think it would probably be about a second and a fifth is what you'd be looking at. But I would be very surprised if the Jags traded him off. If they did, by all means, I'd be very interested in bringing him to Seattle as far as that goes. But Doom, I'd be surprised. Thanks for the super chat. Next question from Love Seattle says, I know it's in the division, but what are the chances the Seahawks could trade for Budda Baker? Good question there, Love Seattle. Budda Baker, I think the Cardinals have been shopping him, it feels like, for a while now, right? They've been trying to find a package that they like, but nothing has happened just yet of a potential move at this point, right? And you've had him request a trade and all that stuff, but nothing has really, happened of that. And so, with that being said, is it impossible? No, we've seen intra-division trades before. It doesn't happen that often, but I would be surprised. I would be surprised if the Seahawks brought in Budda Baker. And I have more confidence in Rayshawn Jenkins than some people do. Some people aren't so high on him. I think he and Julian Love are good enough to get the job done at the safety spot. I think Seattle has bigger concerns than trading for a guy like Budda Baker. And we saw in the past, the Seahawks, it bit them in the ass when they traded for Jamal Adams and all what they gave up. I think Seahawks fans are going to be hesitant to the idea of trading for a safety. Let's ask you guys, put your GM hat on now. Should Seattle trade for Budda Baker? Type T for trade, P for pass. Let us know in the comment section below. Next question, and the mailbag this week comes from Phobia. Phobia writes, could we get any value from a package secondary? We have some disposable pieces. I think, Phobia, there is a decent chance that whoever does not win the outside corner job between Trey Brown and Mike Jackson, assuming they both stay healthy, I think that it is a decent chance it's a loser leaves town situation. Let me explain what I mean by this. I think this competition comes down right to the very end, as it was last season. Remember, Mike Jackson had a great offseason and then just played terrible in the preseason. Trey Brown played pretty well, and Trey Brown ended up being your starting outside corner. We did see Mike Jackson later on in the season, but it came down to the very end, and Trey Brown ultimately won the job. Open competition again between those two, and there's enough teams in the NFL that need a starting outside corner, and Mike Jackson and Trey Brown are just good enough. I think there could be a possibility where one of them gets traded, whoever doesn't win the job, and then you try to see what you can get, whether it's a fifth round or sixth round, seventh round pick, a late day 3 pick, if you will, potentially. I could see one of those guys leaving. Sleepless in Seattle, great movie, by the way. I just watched that again not too long ago. The question is, seems like Haason Reddick isn't happy with the Jets. Could he end up in Seattle? So it's the same situation that he was in Philadelphia, where he's looking to get paid. The Jets have not paid him that money yet there in New York, which is bizarre, right? You would think that was going to be one of the first things they took care of when they brought him into town, but they didn't do so. And with that said, putting him on the market, I think, is not impossible. The thing for the Jets, though, it's hard to imagine them getting the same trade value that they traded for. It's probably going to be less now because you have a disgruntled player that's been upset in multiple locations at this point. So, yeah, I mean, he could be traded. I would love to see him in Seattle, but then you have to pay him too. I would, if you could do it, I would do it. But I would be surprised. Count me surprised if that would happen. What do you guys think? If Seattle has the opportunity to trade for Haason Reddick, should they pull the trigger and do it? Weigh in, let us know. Y for yes, in for no, if Seattle should trade for Haason Reddick or not. David Goggins, what a legend, right? He writes in, is the Seahawks offense or defense going to carry the team more in 2024? I like the improvements to the defense, but let's not kid ourselves here. The strength of this Seahawks team is still their offense of what they bring to the table with those skill positions. The wide receiver room is arguably the best in football when you talk about DK and Lockett and JSN entering year number 2. The running back core is really good with Walker and Charbonnet. I think you're going to see more of Kenny McIntosh. That running back room is going to be really good. Noah Fant should take a step forward. Hopefully the offensive line improves. I think Geno is a much better fit for Ryan Grubb's offense than he was with Shane Waldron's. So for me, I think the offense carries this team. But the defense will be improved, and the defense will find ways, I think, to take steps forward where they do win games. Maybe it's the pass rush. Maybe it's the secondary coming through. This isn't going to be a top 10 defense. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to be better than what we saw last year. So I do think the defense is better, but the offense does the legwork most of the way. 2 more questions. Jay-Z writes in, if Geno doesn't have a good season, Sam Howell has to take over. Do you think he is the solution? If so, why? No, I don't think he's the solution. If he was all that in a bag of chips, wouldn't the Commanders have kept him and not drafted Jaylen Daniels? Just a thought there. Former 5th-round pick. I know he's relatively young, but to me, there's too many red flags when it comes to accuracy. Turned the football over a lot, was highly inaccurate, led the league in interceptions. And I know a lot of that wasn't his fault. He had a terrible offensive line there in Washington, but I'm just not a believer. Sam Howell is not a guy that can lead you to a Super Bowl. And the Seahawks are not going to have their long-term solution at the quarterback position until they find a QB that's capable of leading them to a Super Bowl. Geno's not that guy. Sam Howell's not that guy. Next offseason, that'll be a question the Seahawks have to figure out. Do they want to run it back with Geno and kind of push things back, wait longer, or are the Seahawks going to go with a rookie quarterback and try to find their franchise guy, or do they go with a veteran? Dak's a possibility. Cousins is a possibility. But it's not Geno, and it's certainly not Sam Howell as the long-term solution Seattle's looking for as far as that goes. Last question. I miss Pete. Oh, do you? Do you really? Give Mike Macdonald a chance. How many wins, realistically, can we expect from Seattle in 2024? I think that the ceiling is 10. I think at best it's a 10-win season. If the Seahawks win 10 games, I'll be thrilled. And everybody should be thrilled if they're a 10-win team in 2024. The floor, I'd be surprised if they won anything less than 7 games. I think this team is too talented. ESPN rated them about the 16th best roster in football. That should be what you're looking at. I think a 9-8 season would be my prediction that the Seahawks get to what they've gotten to the last couple of seasons. The goal, as I've stated previously, I'll say it again, for the Seahawks this year, it's to be a playoff contender. Try to get into the postseason. If you win 9-10 games, make the playoffs, it's a very good year. Next year is going to be when they need to take the next step and compete to win the NFC and potentially get to the Super Bowl. Thanks for joining us here on Seahawks Today. Subscribe now for continuing Seahawks coverage. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. I'm Tyler Jones. We'll see you next time.